Nature is a lesson book. I love going out to nature and observing things that happen slowly and subtly in nature and try to glean spiritual insights for our walk. Recently, I went to Mexico with my husband, and there we had the opportunity of visiting this underground cave system that was quite amazing. It's this geological structure that was essentially took form underneath the ground that we were stepping on the soil. So underneath the jungle, there's an extensive cave system that much of it is unexplored. So when we were there, we were guided through sections of the caves. We went through routes underneath. There are pools of water, so we had to swim through them and walk through narrow paths. So we had to wear life jackets, wetsuits, helmets to protect ourselves. And when we stepped into this cave, the most amazing view was in sight. Everywhere above us, beneath us, all around us were amazing structures, stalagmites and stalactites that had been formed for a very long time. Now, when I came to this place like this, the question that I asked is, what happened here? It's amazing. It was so amazing that, what is the explanation of all of these things? So the guide explained to us how this cave was formed was primarily because the material of the soil was limestone. So limestones are kind of porous stones, brittle materials. At one point in time, some part of the ground collapsed that created this gap between what we know now as the cave ceiling and floor. So once this gap was formed, because limestones were porous, water would seep through them and start to form these stalagmites and stalactites. The most amazing thing happened because these stones were brittle. When water passed through them, it would erode a little bit of materials here and there, and then as they go along, they would deposit this powder, these calcite materials into another place. So the stalagmites, for example, they would start as a little piece. They would be brittle at first, but then as water keeps flowing through this structure, this conic structure, drip by drip, it would grow. It would grow, it would slowly but surely, drip by drip by drip. As I was beholding this magnificent views, I couldn't help thinking about our Christian walk. Isn't this much like how our faith grows in our spiritual walk? I don't know about you, but sometimes I think about my spiritual walk and think about why is it that no more great things happen to me? Sometimes we like the moments where God does dramatic things, our conversion experience or a miraculous events. And these become the stories that we tell, and we love telling these stories. They become anchors in our faith. But most of the time, actually, are the still small happenings in life that happen each day. They happen in the dark, quietly, subtly. No one notices them. It's imperceptible. Nothing major, nothing grandeur, nothing dramatic. But still, God still works in these quiet moments, drip by drip, like a gentle rain. So, if you're like me at all, sometimes I get discouraged when I think about these things. How come these great things are not happening to me? But for those who are thinking this way, I want to read you a quote from Patriarchs and Prophets, page 203. Ellen White says, "The greatest victories to the Church of Christ or to the individual Christian are not those that are gained by talent or education, by wealth or the favor of men. They are those victories that are gained in the audience chamber of God, when earnest, agonizing faith lays hold upon the mighty arm of power." It's in the silent space of our heart each day that God's work is done. He moves in gentle and silent ways, not always in earthquakes or thunderstorms or fire, but in the still small voice, when we learn to live by faith and not by sight. So, as we go through each day, remember that God is continuously molding and forming us, just like these caves, until one day we can look back and see a magnificent view of what God had done in our lives. But remember that each day, He still works quietly, drip by drip by drip.